Afternoon everyone, it's Ian from DIY Home and Gardening, 26th of July, and today is a bit of a pruning video for the plant behind me, which is Magnolia Stellata. So if I turn the camera around and we can have a little look together. So this is the shady part of the garden, and this lump here is the Magnolia Stellata. So Magnolia Stellata, spring flowering, have star-shaped flowers to them, and this is the normal white flowering one. And because it is a little bit shady, you can see that it's now starting to project forward a little bit more out from the border, and also it's starting to get a little bit of dieback through the middle. Additionally, where it's been so windy, there has been a little bit of damage occurring. So now is the time to prune. When I say now, we're looking, essentially mid to end of the summer. You don't want to prune before now because you need one for it to flower. So if you prune early in the year, or indeed too late in the year, then you won't get the spring flowers. And you also want now, you'll see that the buds are starting to form for flowering next year, so you'll be able to see where to prune to and where not to prune to. See, that's a flowering bud there, and quite often actually you will get a second flush of flower in the late summer to autumn anyway. So we start with the basics, and the basics, as I always say, is to remove the 3 Ds: the dead, diseased if you've got any, and damaged. So I suppose that piece is dead and it's also damaged, but we've got some more dead within there. So we start with the 3 Ds, and really for a magnolia, something like a magnolia, well, they are slow growing, so you don't really want to be pruning too much from them anyway. So remove your dead, diseased, damaged stems, and then after that we can have a little look at doing a bit of formative pruning. So yeah, remove the odd bit of dead, still hanging on. Now we'll look to do a bit of formative pruning. So by that we're looking at any obvious crossing stems or weakened growth that might be impacting through the middle, and congesting the middle. So trying to just open it up a little bit. And also what I want to do, I just want to get some of the layers back to get a slightly more open lower canopy, as well as trying to take the plant back that way towards the fence. And just remember, this is only really doing basic pruning. Magnolias will not thank you at all if you go too hard. The only, I suppose, exception being is if you're trying to do some rejuvenating pruning where you've really inherited a plant that is just too big, and then you can, I say, cut it back over the course of 2 to 3 years, just removing up to 1/3 in each instance. So for now, yeah, just do a little bit of light pruning, and you don't want to go too crazy. And a little bit of guidance for you, as much as, despite Magnolia Stellata flowering in spring, quite frequently it will flower into the autumn time, and this little furry bud there, well, that's going to be a flower bud for, say, slightly later in the season. So you don't want to prune that off, but instead you could have a look at just nipping that back to take it back a little bit that way. and you never know, we could probably use some of this for some cutting material. So let's get on. So just show you, so we've got here a little dead section. The reason it's probably dead is because it's getting no light to it, but also it's crossing through, so just whip that out. Some odd bits through the middle there, and there is this branch here that is definitely crossing through, but it's fairly significant, so I'm going to leave that for the time being, but just look at some of these other bits. So like this little piece here, just nip it back, that removes some of that crossing section to it, and you can see that just by doing that you're starting to open up the centre a little bit, that way, well, lightways on some of these odd pieces. So just carry on with that, just small cuts. So I'm nearly done. Just thought I'd have a quick look at this really fresh growth, just to kind of show you what I do. So this is softwood growth, really juvenile, and yeah, you could leave it and it do its thing. It'll grow quite quickly, but it will be quite weak and spindly. So what I tend to do is I tend to let it go up 3 or 4 inches past the older, more mature wood, and then snip it. Same with here and with here, and cut to what is an outward facing bud, so a bud where it's coming away from the main centre of the plant. And what that would do is that will encourage this section of new growth to then ripen up and indeed thicken up, and you'll find that by doing that now, that will encourage formation of flower bud for next year. So yeah, it's worth just having a little look at, so doing that where you can or where you want to, and yeah, it just allows you to sort of almost create clouds or pockets of levels of growth. So if I just stand up and come back a little bit, you can then have a look as to what I've done. So if literally that is all I've taken off, just odd bits and pieces, but you can see that the base layer is a little bit clearer, not a lot, and then we got a little bit of spacing just through the center to create these canopies, which just gives it a nice formation for the plant. And when you get flower, you will then get flower from top to bottom, because you're encouraging, well, we've missed a piece, you're encouraging these more juvenile stems. Let me just get sectors, more juvenile stems to go into flower bud formation. And it's worth also saying that whilst we're into summer, now is the time to make sure you keep it well watered and fed. If it doesn't, well, certainly if it doesn't get sufficient water, then you won't get the flower formation for the spring, and that's definitely something that we want to have. And yeah, now we're getting into the summer as well, through the application of more water, you will also notice that the foliage starts looking a little bit more on the yellow side. Again, that's telling you one thing, and that one thing is that it needs some more feed, so give it a feed. And whilst they will benefit from having an ericaceous or acidic feed, it's not compulsory, but just getting a good feed into them will help. So I tend to use pelleted chicken manure around, well, across all the flower bed, to be honest, and yeah, just work my way along, and even with the hydrangeas, and then when I do my ericaceous feed for the hydrangea or hydrangeas, then I also give it for the Magnolia Stellata and indeed Magnolia grandiflora. So as I mentioned grandiflora, I'll just show you the flowers actually. Yeah, Shame you can't smell them because they're absolutely amazing. Anyway, last couple of bits to do and then video finished. So as I say, video finished. Pruning of Magnolia Stellata, although you can adopt the same pruning technique and methodology for pruning of all magnolias, particularly the deciduous ones at this time of year. And you know, really you are, well, it is going to be deciduous ones, and really you are pruning for well, the same purpose on all of them: healthy plants, spring flowering. So yeah, it's not too difficult, and it's just really about getting your timing right. And as I say, mid to end of summer is spot on for timing. But yeah, obviously I always say, if you do have any questions or you're not quite sure, just ping me a message over. You can always look me up as well on Instagram under the same name, DIY Home and Gardening, and you know, you can access me, so to speak, much easier there as well. So yeah, any questions, please send them over to me. If you like what I'm doing, then please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that reminder button so you don't miss out on the future videos I'm doing. And I do always say it, but it is so true: enjoy what you're doing, have fun, and obviously getting those little jobs done now so that you can benefit from having really good display next year. A little bit of forward planning. So till next time, bye for now.